All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're looking at how extreme environments can completely shape the course of human civilization. We are exploring a place that literally challenges the limits of human endurance and yet somehow birthed a massive, modern empire right out of the sand.
But before we map out our journey, I've got a quick question for you from our source material to test your geographic knowledge. Think about all the massive countries spread across the globe. Which one is the absolute largest in the entire world that doesn't have a single permanent river flowing through it? Any guesses?
Well, the answer is Saudi Arabia. It's a vast nation defined entirely by its intense landscape and incredibly arid conditions rather than flowing waterways. It's a true geographic anomaly, and as you'll see, that total lack of surface water dictates absolutely everything about how life operates there.
Here's the roadmap for our explainer today. We'll start by mapping the Arabian Desert, then move on to climate, landscape, and life. After that, we'll cover nomads and traditional living, explore black gold and industry, and finally wrap up with modern cities and transport.
Okay, Section 1, Mapping the Arabian Desert, setting the macro stage.
So globally speaking, hot deserts are primarily located in the western parts of continents right near the tropics of Cancer and Capricorn, from the Sahara to the Kalahari, and sitting right there in the middle is the Arabian Desert. These massive dry zones aren't just random. They're totally dictated by global wind patterns and ocean currents that keep rainfall incredibly low.
When we zoom in on the Arabian Peninsula in the Middle East, we see that Saudi Arabia actually occupies the vast majority of the Arabian Desert. It is the defining feature of the entire region, gently sloping in the northeast but rising steeply over in the west. And to give you a true sense of scale here, Saudi Arabia is officially the 5th largest country in all of Asia. So yeah, it's a massive expanse of land, taking up a monumental footprint on the continent.
Its strategic position is absolutely key. It's totally surrounded by important nations. You've got Kuwait, Iraq, and Jordan to the north, Qatar, Bahrain, and the UAE to the east, and Oman and Yemen down south. Plus, it's flanked by major bodies of water, with the Red Sea on the west and the Persian Gulf on the east. This geography makes it a massive, vital economic bridge.
Moving on to Section 2, Climate, Landscape, and Life, the harsh reality.
Now remember that crazy fact about having absolutely zero permanent rivers? Because of that, the landscape relies really heavily on what are known as wadis. Wadis are these low, dry riverbeds or deep gullies that spring to life only during occasional, heavy rainfall. They're like sudden, temporary lifelines in an otherwise bone-dry environment.
And this creates a landscape of sheer extremes. You have this stark contrast between fertile oases, like the lush, incredibly green Al Hessa oasis, which is fed by precious underground water making its way to the surface, and the barren, shifting sand dunes of the Rub' al Khali, famously known as the Empty Quarter. You literally have these tiny pockets of vibrant, cultivatable life completely surrounded by an ocean of rocky plateaus and sand dunes shaped by fierce winds.
Living here means enduring wild temperature swings. The climate throws extreme heat at you during summer days from June to September, followed by relatively cool nights. But then in winter, from December to February, while the days might actually be warm and pleasant, but the desert brutally freezes you with extremely cold nights. It's a land of climatic whiplash that tests everything trying to survive there.
Yet, against all odds, vegetation does survive. How? Plants like the date palm, cactus, and tamarisk have completely mastered the art of adaptation. They develop incredibly deep, long roots to aggressively seek out scarce underground water. Above ground, they feature small, thorny leaves to prevent vital water loss from evaporation. Every single biological feature is engineered to conserve every drop of moisture. It's fascinating.
Animals have adapted in extraordinary ways too. The camel is the ultimate example here. It utilizes special padded feet perfectly designed for walking on loose sand without sinking, and long legs to keep its body far away from the scorching heat radiating off the ground. Most impressively, a camel can survive for days without water or food, absolutely earning its legendary nickname as the Ship of the Desert.
Which brings us to Section 3, Nomads and Traditional Living, the Human Element.
For generations, human survival here relied on constant movement. Nomadic groups, most notably the Bedouins, are the absolute heart of this traditional lifestyle. They moved continuously from place to place with their herds of camels, sheep, and goats in a tireless search for precious temporary pastures. They didn't fight the environment. They flowed right along with it, trading goods and relying on animal hides to make their tents and clothes.
Even their traditional clothing acts as essential survival gear. The long, loose cotton robe worn by men, called a thob, and the head covering, called a gutra, are basically brilliantly engineered shields against the blistering sun and punishing dust storms. Likewise, women traditionally wear long robes called abayas and cover their faces with veils to protect themselves from those severe elements.
Section 4. Black Gold and Industry. The Transformation. Now everything changed drastically when incredible wealth was discovered hidden deep beneath those shifting sand dunes. The discovery of petroleum completely flipped the entire economy and way of life on its head. The population rapidly shifted away from traditional farming, trading, and nomadic herding, moving straight into booming modern industries. We're talking massive petrochemical plants, petroleum refining, power generation, and a huge influx of business and factory workers. It was a rapid, complete societal pivot that brought unbelievable prosperity to the absolute monarchy.
And the really crucial point here is what they did with this massive new prosperity. It funded incredible technological feats, most notably mastering the process of desalinating seawater. By removing salt from the ocean water flanking their borders, they finally brought mass quantities of fresh water to a famously arid land. This fundamentally changed what was even possible to build and sustain.
Which leads perfectly into Section 5, Modern Cities and Transport. The modern oasis.
This industrial explosion literally built the ultra-modern version of Saudi Arabia we see today. The capital city of Riyadh was transformed from a humble desert settlement into a well-planned, towering metropolis. Now, it's filled with massive skyscrapers, lush parks, modern markets, state-of-the-art educational institutions, and hospitals. It's an absolute triumph of engineering and wealth over a really harsh environment.
And alongside these soaring commercial hubs like Riyadh and the port city of Jeddah, you have ancient, profoundly important holy cities like Medina and Mecca. These historical centers draw pilgrims from around the world and are now seamlessly connected by extensive, highly maintained modern transport networks spanning road, water, and rail. And get this, the modernization was so rapid and profound that it went far beyond the earth itself. Fueled by this incredible growth, a Saudi prince, Sultan bin Salman, went from a nation of recent nomads to becoming the first Arab astronaut to travel to space in 1985 on the U.S. Space Shuttle Discovery. How wild is that?
So, I'll leave you with this final thought. As we continue to build sprawling, technologically advanced cities in the absolute harshest environments on Earth, relying on incredible innovations like mass desalination, how will our mastery over nature redefine where humanity can thrive next? If we can build a thriving, towering metropolis in the middle of a blazing hot, waterless desert, what frontier is truly out of our reach? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and as always, keep exploring and questioning the world around you.